morning. It's a beautiful Friday morning here in Quest Television. And you know, like we always say, thank God it's Friday. I mean, thank God it's every other day, but Friday is special. My name is Ifoma Nuku. As I lead you, let us take a look at stories that made headlines on the front covers of our national daily. As we begin with Vanguard newspaper this morning, and we have that big story from INEC. INEC moves 2027 polls to January 16. That is on page 14. INEC moves 2027 polls to January 16. Underneath, you see sub-story, Osun gubernatorial holds August 15, 2026. And away from that story, we also see another one concerning 2027, Atiku, Obi, Amechi, Mark, Galadima. Others reject electoral law. These men that we know, basically they belong to ADC. They are kicking against electoral law. You can find that story in Vanguard newspaper. And away from that, we also see thanks for gracing your ancestral homeland, Your Excellency. This is coming from Olu of Warri to Her Excellency, Senator Oluremi Tinubu. Basically, Vanguard newspaper this morning, the front cover is very simple and straight to the point. As we move to the next one, let us see what we have in Daily Trust. Opposition rejects amended Electoral Act. Like we told you, Atiku, Obi, and Co, Amechi, Galadima, they are saying, no, we're not having this Electoral Act. And one may be wondering, all along that the electoral bill, when it was still a bill, that, you know, it was going back and forth, where were they? Where was Atiku? Where was Obi? Why did they kick against it? All right, until it became a law. But you have to find out why they are saying no to that. INEC shifts presidential election to January 16, 2027. And as well, still in Daily Trust newspaper this beautiful morning, a bag of cement climbs to 11,000 naira. Okay, can somebody just hold me? Okay, I don't want to faint. Because I'm planning to, you know, every other day you wake up hopeful that you're going to be among the people that will point at a structure and say, this is mine. How are you going to do that with a bag of cement at 11,000 naira? Why? Anyway, we're going to find out when we read that story in the Daily Trust. Sharia Council to US. You can't stop Sharia in Nigeria. Okay? Yes. Recently, the US is suggesting and making moves on how to, you know, stop Sharia in Nigeria. And the Sharia Council is saying, no, you can't do that. Away from that story this beautiful morning, we also see a story on the Daily Trust. Governor Inua Yahaya commissions, inspects projects in Kwame Duku local government areas. And they're still on Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Terrorists kill 22 in KB, Adamawa. Terrorists kill 22 in KB and Adamawa State. Schoolmates celebrate Walida's release. That's also in Daily Trust. And finally this morning from Daily Trust newspaper, IPI urges new IGP to protect press freedom and harassment of journalists. This one concerns I and my team somehow, right? As we are still looking into the new IGP and, you know, expressing our expectations, that you are free to also do that by, you know, maybe engaging in our social platforms and telling us what you think and your expectation of the IGP, the new IGP. You know, this one is our story, okay? Let us move away from that story to the Nigerian Tribune. Of course, presidential election to hold January 16, 2027. Governorship, February 6. That is sitting pretty in page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. Part of the story says, conduct of party primaries to commence on April 23. Presidential NAS campaigns to commence August 19. Osun governorship poll to hold August 15 this year. A lot is going to happen this very year as we look forward to 2027. ADC NNPP rejects Electoral Act. ADC NNPP reject Electoral Act. Yes, it's not just about Atiku, Mark, Obi, Amechi. Others are also kicking against that. Beneath that story, you will see presidency carpets opposition parties, accuses ADC NNPP of unwarranted outreach. Oh, okay. Presidency is describing this reaction as unwarranted. What do you think? What do you think? Is it actually unwarranted? All right. Still on the page of Nigerian Tribune, we are looking at another story that says FCC establishes case of price fixing by local airlines. All right. They are looking to probe foreign carriers and all that. We are still in Nigerian Tribune. You know, one thing about Nigerian Tribune, I always look forward to the health part. And this morning, the health says, new device detects infectious tuberculosis directly in the air. Scientists are telling us that something new has happened. There's this new device that can detect infectious tuberculosis directly in the air. Away from that, NBC moves to resolve Edo-Kogi interstate boundary dispute. That's on page 3. NBC moves to resolve Edo-Kogi interstate boundary dispute. Also on the front cover of the Nigerian Tribune, NEPC warns 50% post-harvest losses threaten Nigeria's export drive. That's on page 12. NEPC warns 50% post-harvest losses threaten Nigeria's export drive. And finally, this morning on the Nigerian Tribune, we're going to tell you about a story on the EFCC operatives testifies virtually in UK trial of Diziani. EFCC operative testifies virtually in UK trial of Diziani. And that's basically that on the Nigerian Tribune. As we move on to the last daily that we're going to look at this morning, which is The Guardian. And of course, that INEC story is still there. But this time it says, INEC ignores Electoral Act process, shifts 2027 elections for Ramadan. That's on page 6. INEC ignores Electoral Act protests, shifts 2027 elections for Ramadan. Okay. And we also see another story. Federal government insists on state police awaits legislative backing. I think that's a good one if it gets the approval of the lawmakers. Every state should have their police outfit, you know, their state policing. Senate faults zero capital, demands accountability as ministers defend fiscal reforms. Senate faults zero capital, demands accountability as ministers defend fiscal reform. Report, terrorists attack on Nigeria, Benin, Niger borders rose by 262% in 2025. Report is telling us that terrorist attacks on Nigeria, Benin, Niger borders rose by 262% in 2025. Over 100 terrorists stormed Benue villages, killed 150. Witness tells court. Over 100 terrorists storm Benue villages, kill 150, witness tells court. 2027 polls, Yoruba Ronu withdraws support for APC, backs ADC. There seems to be a lot of movement from political parties this period because, as Nigerians gear up for 2027 election, people who need to move from one particular political party are doing that. And Yoruba Ronu is one of them. He withdraws his support for APC and backs ADC. Still on the Guardian newspaper this beautiful morning, Commission documents 700,000 out-of-school children. Commission documents 700,000 out-of-school children. What do you think could be the cause of this huge number, 700,000 of Nigerian children out of school? Could it be hardship? Could it be choice? You'll find that story in page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. Federal government deepens credit core, targets wider coverage and disbursement. Bauchi governor says 10,000 well-armed bandits attacking communities. So it's not just in Benue State, like the witness testified. It's also happening in Bauchi. The governor says 10,000 well-armed bandits attacking communities. Constitutional amendment delay fuels anxiety ahead of 2027 elections. And that's basically that. As we see the final story, distillers barricade NAFDAC Lagos office over alcohol sachet ban. Distillers barricade NAFDAC Lagos office over alcohol sachet ban. And Nigerians, this is where we wrap it up on the newspaper headlines from trusted Nigerian dailies that we have a look this morning. And I need to, hand you over to my team, the gentlemen, who are going to, say something about some of the stories that we gave you this morning. Good morning, Praise Soje, and good morning, Clement Samson.
Good morning, Nigeria. What a beautiful day it is. Good morning, Samson.
Hello, Praise. Good morning to you. And Ify, good morning to you as well,
too. Good morning.
Yes.
Well, I thought talks about the Electoral Act was under, it was done and dusted.
Yes, right.
But yesterday, the opposition... the opposition figures came together yesterday. I think the NMPP, the ADC, it was a joint press conference, by the way. To voice out their disagreement. And I think a few hours later, of course, Mr. Bayon Anuga, special advisor to the president, came out with a press statement rather to say that, look, you guys are making noise.
Honestly,
well,
it's a description for me.
Well, that will form part of our conversation this morning. But then a particular headline actually caught my attention this morning from the Guardian newspaper, from where you were actually rolling out. And by the way, before we talk about that, we also have to say that the First Lady of the country was at Warri yesterday. And of course, the convo was quite remarkable. Exciting to watch. But then 700,000 out-of-school children.
Alarming.
What do you make of that, Samson? Because to me, it's troubling.
It is highly troubling. And considering the fact that Nigeria is actually one of the fastest growing economies in Africa. Okay, Nigeria is what? Like, we gained independence since 1960. And already as it stands, one would begin to think that at this point we should not be grappling with things like education, a very rickety educational system. Now, what happens to all of the revenues we've been generating? Okay, where does all of that thing go into? When we talk about infrastructure, is education not part of the infrastructure development? Okay, we should just, I think a number of days back, we were talking about how the Akwa Ibom State Governor, wasn't paying attention to a particular school. But this is so alarming that they were talking about the fact that that's not a one case situation, that it's widespread.
It cuts across the nation.
Now, the cost of even something as basic as uniforms, something as basic as exercise books, it keeps going up. Okay. Now, these things continue to get out of the reach of parents. Okay, getting them for their children. That means there is increased poverty. Yeah, a lot of basic necessities going out of the reach of people who need them. Okay, somebody said there's no more middle class in Nigeria. That's true. Okay, so this is quite worrisome.
Very
we need
worrisome.
to see something like free education. Is it beyond our government to provide?
I think we are losing basic fundamentals that formed this nation. What shall I say, brought Nigeria out of the colonial era, where if you go to some sections of the country, some regions of the country, they were identified by something. When you look at this current administration or administrations that we've seen over the years, what have been their philosophical ideas? What have anchored their mandate to lead? I mean, and this is not just to, I believe that if we probe deeper, there are more out-of-school children. Also, I mean, 700,000. But let's leave it there because we really don't have much time. Then I think we'll just have to react to this headline that INEC is now telling us that the January will be when the 2027 presidential election will hold. Of course, when Mr. President signed the Electoral Act into law just last week, part of amendments made to the new law is that presidential elections will now hold in January because of the Ramadan and other things. And then we also have the Oshunguba will be holding on the 15th of August. I believe that INEC is actually getting set for a lot of adjustment. But then January, isn't it too early? Because some people will be traveling or returning from Christmas and New Year break.
People are not settled.
People are not yet settled. Just imagine the kind of disruption it's going to cause. Some people will be rushing back home.
Please, I think everything about this election schedule or timetable, if you want, I don't think INEC is actually paying attention to the voters. Because, making mention of that period, January, we know how January this year, a lot of persons spent time in places where they did their Christmas and New Year. Who knows how it's going to be in 2027, and you start running back to places where you registered to vote. January is rather so soon,
Well, whether soon or not, what Nigerians want is a free and credible election in 2027, and someone who can lead them, like Moses. Did Moses lead the children of Israel to the promised land? Actually, not Moses. Someone that can lead them to the promised land.
Yeah, Moses led to a point, and Aaron continued.
Yeah.
And Samson broke the jaw of the.
Well, that's quite a Bible story. Well, up next this morning is the big story, and of course, our attention will shift now to the presidency and opposition parties in Nigeria bickering over the Electoral Amendment Act. Join us for the big story this morning. We'll be right back after this break.